Okay. Second coat. And I'm putting it on at a different angle. I just gotta It's gotten really hot and sunny now. Okay, I think that will do for my second coat. Like I said, I'm going to put a third coat on it for sure. Now I'm going to go in here and remove the second layer of, oh, didn't want to take it all up, but and then that leaves me tape for my third coat in place. And again, it's, you know, step back about 3/8 of an inch so that I'm kind of layering the feather edge of my gel coat a little bit, just to help me when it comes time to sanding, feathering edge that edge there. I have to patch up my tape there just a little bit, but not too bad. Okay. So that's second coat. Forgot to turn my camera on, but anyway, there's the third coat on it, which should be enough. That'll give me, you know, a pretty good amount of depth, you know, for sanding and fine feathering it out and all that. I've already got bugs trying to land in it. It's starting to get late in the evening. Afternoon, I should say. But anyway, at this point, I'll just leave it alone, and I'll come back maybe tomorrow afternoon and start sanding it. Alright, let that cure good, and then I will de-wax it and start sanding it, and eventually wet sanding and polishing it out and all that. With a little bit of luck, it'll be a close enough match. It's kind of hard to tell right now because it's wet and more shiny. But I do have some bugs starting to land in it. But we will see how it goes.
I got my Gelcoat on yesterday. I ended up having to put a fourth coat on because a cat or something tried to jump up on the boat while the Gelcoat was still soft and left claw marks in it that cut through the soft Gelcoat. So I ended up having to sand it out and put a fourth coat on it, but hopefully it'll be all right. I got caught late in the afternoon, and it was a little bit cool yesterday. Cool this morning too, in the 50s, which is nice. Anyway, I put plastic wrap, stretch wrap over it yesterday evening before the dew fell, and put tape around it just to keep the heavy dew that we're having right now from getting in that Gelcoat that had not completely cured. So I'm gonna just leave that on there today and let the sun shine on it and let it cure, finish curing good before I try to do anything with it. Probably look at it sometime later this afternoon, pull that plastic off and see what I've got.
I don't use it that often, but I've got some carbon black here. I've had like a 30-gallon container of carbon black that I've had for probably 20 plus years, 20, 25 years. And I've probably still got 25 gallons of it in the container because I just don't use it very often. But I used to put it in my resin for like on the bottom of like if I built a little boat that was gonna be beached and stuff, I would mix it in with my resin and for the bottom and basically make the bottom black, but it was carbon black. And it did a really good job of helping with scratches and stuff whenever you pull your little boat up on the beach or whatever. But I haven't used it in years. But anyway, I'm gonna use it for like a guide coat here, and just kind of see how it does. I haven't done this with this in a long time, but you can buy the guide coat material in a little container. I think 3M makes it, but it's a bit messy if you're not careful. It gets everywhere, so you have to kind of be careful with it. But there it is. It's super black. Doesn't take a whole lot. It's just kind of like black face powder. And you sand this away, and where this is left will be your low points that you know you haven't sanded deep enough or whatever. And that's kind of how it works. Probably should have got some of this off of my pad here before I started, because I've probably got more than I need here. Okay, so that kind of gives me a like I say, just a guide coat for sanding. If you sand down to where there's no more black left at all anywhere, then you know you've pretty much got it all sanded. Now I'm gonna start off sanding this, dry sanding with 220, just to get rid of some of that bulk real quick, and then I'll very quickly switch over to 400 and start wet sanding. But just want to get rid of some of the bulk of this and get rid of some of that guide coat real quick. So you can see there, whenever I get down to where it's just white, I know that I'm low enough. But then when you see all these black marks, you know, down in the depressions and stuff where it's low, that let me know I got to sand more. So it just kind of lets you know when you've sanded and this everything turns into white, you know you're deep enough. But I don't want to overdo it with this 220 because I'll be too deep real quick. But you can see how that guide coat works. So it fills in the low points. And as you sand it down, you know, I've still got just a few little specks of black here and there, or all over it, you know, and that's that guide coat where it settled in those low points. But I'm gonna switch over to wet sanding now. I probably took more off with the dry sanding with the 220 than I should have, but I think I'm okay. Now I'm gonna switch over to probably 400 with wet sanding, and then 800, 600, 800, 1000, 1200, that kind of thing, and try to get it down to where I can kind of polish it out. Well, I'm out of 400 paper, it looks like, so I'm just going to switch straight to 800. And I've got just a little bit of Dawn dishwashing detergent in this water, kind of break the surface tension, if you will. And so. Now, I don't recommend that you ever use an electric sander wet sanding, obviously because of the shock hazard, but yet I'm out here doing it. But I do not recommend it. For one thing, besides the shock hazard, you're most likely going to ruin your sander. I have a couple of large shop air compressors in two of my shops, but I don't have one just very close to where I'm working at right now, so I'm out here doing what I shouldn't be doing. So this upper side here, that's got that almost carbon black free. Got one little spot right there, just almost nothing. But I don't want to continue to sand too much or I'll be through my Gelcoat. So got a couple of little specks up here. I think I can sand that out. One little spot right there, I know I can sand that. But I'll leave that for my next grade of sandpaper. I think I've got some 1000 grit that I'll probably use next, but that feels, you can tell with your hand, that feels really, really smooth, and it also, there's no like a junction between the new and the old. It's just dead smooth. That right there is some adhesive from where I had some plastic taped over here. I have to get that off with some adhesive remover. But everywhere it just feels smooth. You know, no obvious transition, and that's what I was after. That's more important on a sailboat than how it looks, honestly. You know, because of the flow through the water. You don't want something that's going to cause a ripple or something, you know. But that's just nice and smooth transition, just as smooth as it can be, right there. So that's going to be fine, I think, once I get through wet sanding it down with some finer grit. Well, my GoPro battery died. I forgot to charge it. I've got it sanded with 800, and now I'm getting ready to put 1200 grit. I'm just going to skip 1000 and go straight to 1200 and sand it out with that. And then I may take my buffing machine and try to do a little compounding and then polishing it out. This sandpaper that I'm using here is Red Lab Industries abrasives, and it's really good. It's really good paper. That's looking pretty good. Now that is just as smooth as it can be as far as being blended in. There's no little ridge lines whatsoever, and it just feels nice and smooth and flat. It's you can find it if you know what's there, but you don't just notice it. It's pretty blended in. I'm pleased with that. Good enough.